What's up guys, and welcome to the first of a few follow-up videos. Now I explained in the little update, the little tiny update yesterday, what a follow-up video is going to be. Basically I'm going to go over one of the videos I've made. For example, this one is about Zinnia and Aster, like is Aster her daughter or her mother sort of thing. And I'm going to look for the comments, and anyone that's got sort of raised any interesting issues or put forward a side of the story that is either, I didn't think of, or what, you guys get the idea. Just going through the comments basically and seeing what you guys have said and whatnot, and then basically giving my thoughts on it, and maybe, depending on what they've, it depends what they say really, it depends on the comment. But the idea is, you guys put feedback on the first video, or whatever you think, and then I'll sort of respond to that, and then you guys can respond to what I respond, and then, if certain videos will indeed, a second follow-up video, I guess, will be necessary or, available, but obviously some won't need it. But let me know what you think of all the sort of comments and stuff, all the issues, all the other little ideas I raise in this video, in case there's anything interesting in here. Anyway, I guess we'll get started. So I've basically got loads of comments here to go through, and sort of just talk about them, I guess. So first up we have Scott Squire says, "This is on my mind the whole length of the Delta episode. I'm leaning strongly towards the daughter theory. It makes some really interesting character backstory or development, and it just further instills that Zinnia is my favourite character that they've created in a long time. I'd love to see them introduce her in maybe a new movie or give her a place in the arc in an anime. Maybe we can learn a bit more about Aster during that." I mean, she's very possible to return in the future game, especially the remakes of X and Y. That would make sense to me. Or possibly, just future games in general, to be like a new Cynthia or a new Steven or whatever. She's very likely to do that because obviously she's now left home, she's going on a journey somewhere. In terms of anime, she's very possible to turn up in the anime as well. I wouldn't be surprised if she turns up in the anime to do something with Deoxys, most likely. However, obviously everyone's other stories are available, especially with Rayquaza, Would they explore anything about Aster? I mean, in the games, in terms of issues in any further games, I would assume there'd be some more hints of Aster. She might say, I'm looking for something once lost, or, might make a remark about a child, or whatever. You guys get the idea there. In terms of whether she'd mention that in a movie or in the anime, I would highly doubt that, because it's a very dark subject, I guess you could say, especially if it is a daughter, because Zinnia is a very young woman as well. So I wouldn't expect it to be outrightly mentioned in the anime, or even hinted at in the anime, because it would just seem too dark for me. So I wouldn't expect to see it in the anime, but possibly in any future games she might turn up, which I do expect she will. I'd be surprised if they didn't use her again, because she's a very interesting character, and she could be used just for after game stuff as an optional battle or something along those lines, because she can be used for something along those lines. Then we have Luca Brantz, who says, "My theory is Zinnia and Aster is Aster," and whatever. But Zinnia used to have an Exploud. It died, but she still had the offspring to have a second Aster. This actually is a theory I didn't really explore too much, because it is very likely actually that Zinnia could have had an Exploud, and this was Aster, and she lost her friend, the Exploud, which is named Aster, but she just got another one named Aster. This would seem a bit weird to me if I did that myself, like just replace them. But it is another likely theory. I didn't explore it too much because there just seemed like so many sort of, there's never been actually any talk about Pokemon. Well, I guess there is talk about Pokemon dying and Mount Pier and whatnot. Maybe there'll be a secret in Mount Pier to do with Aster. I highly doubt it, but it'd be cool if there was. But it's certainly a valid theory that Aster could have been an Exploud that died. It just seems weird because, why would you not? Because she mentions it as her daughter, and there's so many different things that sort of hints at it being a human rather than a Pokemon, so that's why I didn't really talk about it being Exploud, but it is still a valid theory, I guess, but not a very likely one in my opinion. Then Master Ketchum says, "Aster is either Whismur because she turned into it somehow, or dead, and Zinnia just named Whismur after Aster. May have been Aster's favourite Pokemon." Whismur being... no. There's a few comments saying, it may be the Whismur is Aster reincarnated, or Aster turned into a Whismur. No, please, no. This isn't Mystery Dungeon, so this isn't, we're not talking about reincarnation. We're not going to say, oh yeah, Aster died, but now she's come back as a Whismur, because that would be... It would just seem wrong, it would screw over, like, the whole idea of it being some sort of emotional thing, and it's, oh yeah, she just turned into a Whismur, it's okay, it shouldn't make sense. The idea of, Whismur naming a Whismur after Aster makes a lot of sense, you know. That's exactly what we've been talking about. So if her daughter died and she got a Pokemon, she would obviously name it after her, and obviously Whismur could have been Aster's favourite Pokemon. That's a very likely assumption there, but we can't confirm that or deny that at all. But yeah, Aster, the Whismur, is not reincarnated from Aster, please, no, just no. The next comment we have, it's sort of similar to that issue, but DK Mastery, I can't say names very well. Personally, I believe that Aster is a connection between main series and Mystery Dungeon, and is her younger sister, and that they lost their parents at a youngest age, and something happened that made Aster the person. That made her lose Aster the person, rather, but Aster the Whismur, but found Aster the Whismur, rather. She doesn't realise they're one and the same. Again, it's just sort of talking about, you know, being reincarnated, that sort of thing, but, you know, let's not. The Mystery Dungeon series is very, very interesting, because you can't really link it into the main series Pokemon games, because it talks about humans being main Pokemon. I will do a separate video in the sort of the upcoming future about Mystery Dungeon series and how we could possibly link that to main series games. But we really can't, you know, you can't assume they're in the same universe even, because it's just Mystery Dungeon is just too weird a place, I guess. But yeah, as I said, Aster the person and Aster the Whismur, not the same being, I guess. Then Pokemon Warrior Cat 13 says, I always thought Aster was her best friend in the whole world, and maybe Zinnia wants a daughter, so she named Aster after her best friend who died. There's my reasoning. Also, Team Grant did call her a crazy teenager or something like that. Although, also, even though there are some places in the world where girls have children in their teens, I still think Zinnia is like 16 or 17 and Aster was her best friend who died. That's what I think. I mean, yes, Aster being her best friend as well is a big possibility. It's just the fact that she says her daughter at one point, and also Aster saying mum so many times. That's what really just gets me there. But again, it is possible it's just a friend. In terms of Zinnia's age, I don't know. I really don't know. Teenager-wise, it could be anything up to 19, because that's got teen in it, obviously. I would like to think of Zinnia as like 19, 20, 21 at least. I wouldn't like to think her as too young, because, you know, we in the games, the protagonist is young. You know, they're about 12 years old, if that, I think, in these games. So I wouldn't see Zinnia being too close to that age. I think she should be a young woman, you know, not a teenager, a young woman, so like 20, 21 sort of thing. It just seems wrong having her be young, because she is sort of, you know, she's, I guess, taller. I think she's taller, I'm not sure. But she's very independent. That might be because possibly Aster was her mother, and Aster died, you know, her mother died, so she has to become independent and whatnot. But you guys get the idea there. I'd like to think of her as a young woman rather than a teenager, but obviously it's up for debate at the moment, I guess. Then, Cloned Lego says, Aster is the ghost girl, and Lumiose also appears in Mount Pyre. Mostly if you're a ghost you can only be in one location, and maybe Aster senses home is in danger, and only the Draconids can help, and Team Aqua Magma are there. Maybe Zinnia was there and Aster tried to warn her, so Zinnia was probably in Kalos, which is why we saw the message meet at the usual place. But she died and her spirit went to Mount Pyre later on, after Zinnia found her body, and her spirit tried to warn her at Mount Pyre, but Aster never saw Zinnia. Very complicated one there. In terms of this, we know Oras happens before Kalos, so you can't say it started in Kalos. But in terms of, is Aster the ghost girl? No, I don't want to say it as Aster as the ghost girl, to be honest, because it would seem wrong. Why would you cross them over? Anyway, the ghost girl was a sort of, you know, she's a teenager girl, you know, 16, 17 age. Aster, if she died as a girl, as she was a daughter, would have been very young. So I don't know, but I wouldn't like to see her as a ghost in Lumiose or whatever. I don't like the idea at all. Do not like the idea at all. Then, Zio Violet says, here we go, it's a long one. I tend to think Zinnia is actually in her 20s and lost a daughter she's desperate to rejoin. She was ready and willing to give her life in the cooling of Rayquaza and the destruction of the meteorite. She didn't have the protective suit and the orbs that the player has that let them be in space safely. So in saving the world, she'd get to rejoin who she lost. This is indicated in her own dialogue. At another point she says Aster and daughter, which makes her think she indeed lost her child. It is painful and it is sad. She didn't count on Rayquaza choosing the player over her, but as lawkeeper and how she was raised, she was still willing to put the Earth's needs above her own desires and passed on her lawkeeper status to the player, as well as granting Rayquaza Dragon Ascent. Her grandmother later tells her to let go of her burden and that it's time for her to start her life over. Zinnia's burden was not just lawkeeper in my mind. It may be best that Rayquaza chose the player over her. He might have known Zinnia wanted to die in pursuit of saving the world, and that didn't sit too well with him as a valid justification. Not to mention, I'm willing to bet that Zinnia is at least in part rather mentally unhinged. The childless way she acts, the way she treats others, and the very unsettling expression on her face and body posture when she battles is pretty suggestive of her mental state. Okay, so first up, I should have really talked about the fact that Zinnia seems she's willing to basically sacrifice herself to save the world, okay? So she did lose her daughter, you know, as this person suggests. She could lose her daughter, and if she died during saving the world, she would then rejoin her daughter in the afterlife, let's assume. So, you know, but she doesn't want to just commit suicide, obviously. Who wants to do that? So, you know, it was her job to save the world, so indeed she went and did that, and she was saying, you know, if I die doing this, it's alright, you know, I can rejoin my daughter, or my mother, indeed, whichever one. So she didn't really care too much, I guess, but obviously we went and ended up doing that. And as he mentions, or she, I don't really know, yeah, Zinnia does seem a bit mentally unhinged, actually, now you think about it, because, you know, the way she treats others, the childish way she acts, the unsettling expression on her face, and this would be very, very understandable if she indeed had lost a daughter, or indeed a mother. You know, should make her very sort of, I wouldn't say crazy, but it would affect her mentally. And obviously if there's no real treatment, especially if she then has to take up the burden of her mother, or just go straight into saving the world after she's just lost a daughter or a mother, that's not going to go down very well, and that indeed may be why she acts, because she's still dealing with grief in a strange way. Then, Jonathan Hipwell says, this is twisted and quite sick, but I reckon that Aster is the aborted fetus of Zinnia. The reason for this is that Zinnia treats Aster like a child, etc. And the reason I reckon it's an abortion because Zinnia is talking about is about 20, meaning she probably aborted it in her teens, etc. I don't know, it's just my opinion on the subject. I mean, this idea did actually come to me in the planning of the video. You know, maybe, you know, Aster was, you know, maybe she lost her baby when it was still inside her, but the point in one of her lines, she says, you know, me and Aster used to watch the stars, so obviously it can't be an aborted fetus, or a lost baby, and lost embryo, whatever, because she watched the stars with them, so that is that there, that can't quite be the reason there. Raven Cartwell then says there is an NPC in Zootopia City that talks about the meaning of names. Maybe a look into what the names Zinnia and Aster mean might shed more light on their nature. Both names are the names of flowers. The flower Zinnia symbolises thinking of or remembering an absent friend. The flower Aster is a symbol of the stars, love, daintiness, and faithfulness. Now I actually completely forgot to talk about the names in the original video rather. I meant to because I had notes on them, but I didn't talk about them at all. First up, Aster and Zinnia, A and Z. Start on the end, that's just another reference to Omega Alpha, start end, XY end, I guess, you know. You guys get the idea there. Zinnia, yeah, indeed, symbolises thinking of remembering an absent friend, and the flower Aster, symbol of stars, hence looking at the stars. Love, you know, the love between Aster and Zinnia. Daintiness and faithfulness, so, you know, you'd assume that the child would be very, very faithful and very dainty as well to her mother. But if you put Aster, if you just define Aster into Twitter, Urban Dictionary comes back with a definition as well. If we look at Urban Dictionary, there we are. Aster, wait, no, maybe let's not read that one out, okay. Aster is the opposite of disaster, when something goes right instead of wrong. So if you had a child, that would be going, you know, having a child might be going right, you know, but then obviously opposite of disaster, the disaster is indeed what happens because she loses Aster, so that's just for ironicness there. If I type Zinnia into Urban Dictionary, I doubt I'm going to get anything here, anything of light, but okay, Zinnia, a person who is usually crazy, bright and colourful like the flower Zinnia, so maybe Game Freak went on Urban Dictionary, not sure, but yeah, Zinnia is just a flower there, and there's not too much sort of, you know, to talk about Zinnia. There's no second meaning of that, but indeed the names do have some recognition. Aster, I think, also has some symbolization to like the mortal world, so again, that's just references to the fact that they're dead, pretty much. So yeah, the names actually do have some significance, but it's not really too much to actually suggest about whether they're mother or daughter or whatever. Then finally we have Max Rome, who says, wondering if Zinnia is related to Drasna in any way. Drasna, the Dragon type user from the Kalos Elite 4. I feel like Game Freak wouldn't waste that opportunity to turn to each other. Maybe Drasna is Zinnia's mother, who knows? Now I didn't actually think of this, and it makes a load of sense, because Drasna does look a bit like Zinnia's mother, if you know, you're not going to deny that, guys. So I wouldn't put money on it, but if they end up tying Drasna to Zinnia, that wouldn't surprise me at all. Maybe Drasna was meant to, you know, carry over the job of the Draconids, but then she decided to go and become one of the Elite Four in Kalos. So now, obviously, we know X and Y happens after Auras, so maybe, you know, it's not like an abandonment. Maybe she wants this world to save. Drasna decides to go to Kalos. and do that. Who knows? Or maybe Drasna has been there for years and that's her job, so that's hence why Zinnia actually has to save the world, and that would mean that then Aster is the daughter that she's lost, and maybe then because her mother is in chaos, her mother isn't there to comfort Zinnia after she's lost her daughter, so that wouldn't help as well. So it'd make a lot of sense actually for Drasna to be Zinnia's mother, but I guess we won't find out unless it's tied into a future anime or game. So I guess we'll have to wait until then. But guys, this is going to be it for the follow-up video. Expect to see some more in the coming weeks and days and whatever. I'll probably do one on the multiverse sphere because there's going to be a lot to talk about for there, as well as some other ones I've done, as well as future videos as well. Let me know if you enjoyed this follow-up video, and let me know what you think of the comments. Certain stuff here, like do you think we're going to see Zinnia in future games? Do you think that Drasna is going to be Zinnia's mother? And again, with what I've talked about in this video, do you think that Aster is Zinnia's mother or Zinnia's daughter? Let me know down below, guys. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and this is going to be it for me for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll be seeing you next time. Goodbye, my friends.